Let's hear it for the volunteer firefighters in Meeker who made a hell of a stand before federal reinforcements got to the Lee fire.
I think here it's a pride thing. They look out for their community.
A prosecutor dropping cases because she doesn't trust the local sheriff's deputies.
We've had to tell victims that, I'm sorry, we cannot prosecute your case because we're not getting the information we need from the sheriff's office.
The sheriff's like, what do you expect? We can't hire the best around here. Rural public radio stations in Colorado are in real trouble. Tonight will help 2 of them stay afloat so they can serve the communities that value their voices. And in all our years of tracking the rocks that attack cars and parking lots, we have never seen a vicious tag team like this.
How do you not see 2 great big 2-ton boulders?
Someone call an ambulance. Oh no, it's on the rock too. Tonight on Next. Creeping wildfires out west have more Coloradans leaving their homes tonight. Routt County deputies are helping people leave their houses near the Crosho fire, burning on Forest Service land near Crosho Lake. It's 750 acres and growing, still just tiny compared to the Lee fire that is burning between Meeker and Craig in northwest Colorado. That's 120,000 acres, 5th largest in Colorado history. It went south to the Garfield County line today, leading to new evacuations for people northwest of Rifle. Firefighters made quite the stand with an assist from some irrigated ranches in keeping the flames of the Lee fire out of Meeker. Before the reinforcements arrived, it was up to volunteer firefighters to defend their town. Our Mark Salinger is in Meeker.
More than 1,200 firefighters from all across the country are here right now in the small town of Meeker, Colorado, battling these fires. But before all that help arrived, the volunteer fire department here in town held the line as the fires grew, saving their town. The first thing you notice driving into town is the smoke. The second is the gratitude.
But yes, it's the biggest fire we've ever dealt with.
Chief Luke Poloni is the only paid member of the Meeker Fire Department. His 40 firefighters are all volunteers.
I think here it's a pride thing. They look out for their community. That we're pretty old school here in Meeker. Everybody, helps everybody.
Pride and purpose don't pay the bills. But in this firehouse, a love for their town runs deep.
I actually wasn't born here, but I've been here all my life. My wife, my son, they're both volunteers.
When the Lee and Elk fires sparked over a week ago, fueled by drought and wind, the volunteers were the first to respond.
And at that time, we didn't have the resources. We didn't have the help, that we do now.
The wind changed on us, it took off, and it just started to run.
Sheriff's deputies began the evacuations.
Literally, I had deputies jumping house to house, telling people to move out.
There was just too much fire.
That fire was moving so dang fast, we had to go house to house. The volunteer fire guys are trying to save every house along the way.
We were short people, short resources. Just couldn't get them in here in time.
There was no containing these fires. The Lee fire is now the 5th largest in the history of the state, yet only 5 homes have been lost and no one has been injured.
I'm very, very proud of my people. Not only the ones that were out on the line, busting it every day, but the people that were here, fixing the equipment, the people that are still covering town, the people that are running EMS calls. Everybody stepped up.
Meeker Fire Department, the local BLM guys, my deputies, every one of them were heroes throughout this.
1,200 firefighters have now flooded the area. The volunteers saved their town before backup arrived.
Nobody here does it for the money. Nobody does it, to be a hero or the recognition. We just do it.
This firehouse is fueled by pride. This town will always be grateful.
For our community, this is a disaster, and I'm just glad, hopefully I made a difference, to somebody.
There's so many firefighters, different crews, airplanes, helicopters here right now that the volunteer firefighters in Meeker aren't really needed on the front lines of fighting this fire anymore. But the fire chief says, I can't just be sitting in the firehouse doing nothing. He's still out coordinating with different fire crews, telling them the lay of the land, giving that local perspective on everything going on right now as the firefighters continue to battle these massive wildfires. In Meeker, for Next, I'm Mark Salinger.
A small sheriff's office in southern Colorado is currently under investigation by the Colorado Attorney General's office. Prosecutors have dropped more than a dozen cases because of their lack of faith in the Costilla County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff basically told our Marshal Zellinger he knows he's not hiring great deputies.
When you get pulled over and are given a speeding ticket, the district attorney does not get involved. Lucky for deputies in Costilla County in the San Luis Valley, because the DA and the sheriff's office are not exactly BFFs.
I'm struggling to be able to uphold my ethical duties as a prosecutor with the cases that are coming out of the sheriff's office.
There are 6 counties in Ann Kelly's judicial district, but Costilla County is the only one where the Republican DA has given an ultimatum.
5 months ago, I said to them, if things don't improve, we're going to have to start dismissing cases.
Last month, Kelly took her concerns public to the Costilla County commissioners.
I have never said, ever, that I do not trust a police agency, and I do not trust the Costilla County Sheriff's Office.
She told commissioners about not getting body camera video from the sheriff's office, missing incident reports, and evidence being lost before trial.
How many total cases have you had to dismiss or drop because of this?
More than 4. It's probably about 15 or 20 cases at this point.
She said one of those cases involved evidence that was lost and then found from a domestic violence case involving a victim who said her abuser strangled her.
And that domestic violence victim had to hear us say, "I'm sorry, but I cannot ethically proceed with the case against your strangler."
And there's been issues with the evidence room and evidence storing, so the commissioners have been working to try and secure additional building facilities in town that's secure, that can move the evidence to.
As county administrator, Ben Doon does not oversee the sheriff's office. Democratic Sheriff Danny Sanchez is an elected sheriff. Doon helps the county commissioners manage the county.
And anytime you hear any of your departments are struggling to meet their obligations, it's tough to hear, and especially when it comes to law enforcement.
The DA has even had to subpoena the sheriff's office in court to get a judge to order the sheriff to turn over all evidence in specific cases. The Costilla County Sheriff declined our interview request. He provided me a statement that started by saying it's a low-paying agency and that we have had to hire employees who are not desirable.
The missing firearms, that was who I told you guys I believe was a disgruntled employee with us. And she was the one that was our evidence tech at the time.
At the July meeting, Under Sheriff Cruz Soto told county commissioners money is to blame.
When evidence gets lost and when the reports aren't ready when they're supposed to me, I think that's an issue. And you as the under sheriff or the sheriff should be responsible for that.
Once again, like I say, we get what we pay for. If we're paying deputies that we can't trust or we don't know, what do we do? I mean...
Speeding tickets generate revenue for the Costilla County budget, just not the kind of revenue to solve a salary problem, if the problem is simply salaries.
But this is not a money issue. This is an organization and a leadership issue.
If you were a victim of a crime in Costilla County, would you want the Costilla County Sheriff's Office investigating it?
At this time, I think it'd be challenging.
Immediately after learning about this from the DA last month, the commissioners approved funding for a body camera system upgrade. They've also approved funding for evidence labeling and a printer. They approved overtime for deputies to finish their reports. And when the sheriff declined my interview request, he told me there's a plan to audit Kyle to go through the evidence to determine what he even has as evidence dating back decades.
It is really striking to hear public leaders talk about that kind of lack of faith in local law enforcement. But on the prosecutor side, in that office, previous to this prosecutor, they had some real issues on that side of the fence.
Yes, Ann Kelly was appointed by Governor Jared Polis in 2022 after the previous district attorney, Alonzo Payne, was resigned when he was under investigation for Victim Rights Act issues. He was disbarred after he resigned by the Colorado Supreme Court, and she told me about having issues where nobody trusted the DA's office in that area, and she covers 6 counties, and she's built up trust, and now she has to say, I don't trust somebody else.
Yeah, and when it gets to that point, people will be afraid to come forward. It's a mess. Well, glad you're on it. Marshall Zellinger, thank you. Democrats across America are figuring out how to respond to President Trump's gerrymandering power grab as he tells red states that they should do a rare mid-decade redistricting of the maps to give him more Republican votes in Congress. Leading Democrats in Colorado have shown no appetite to join California and New York in their own gerrymandering to try and wipe out the Republican gains. Then something curious happened here. It was a filing for a Defensive Gerrymander Guard Act that came in late Sunday night. If this idea was passed by the state legislature or approved by voters, it would allow the Democrats who control every lever of politics in Colorado to skirt our independent redistricting process and do a purely political redraw of the map, like Republicans say they're going to do in Texas and elsewhere. So the Colorado Republican Party spotted this filing, and then they claimed publicly, without offering evidence, that Colorado Democrats are pushing this. The state GOP did not respond to our request to see their evidence of that. And from what we can tell from our investigation, this filing comes from two random guys who were talking about the idea on Reddit. One's a 27-year-old from Loveland who told us he considers himself a Democrat, but he hasn't talked with any party or advocacy groups about what he's doing. He says this initiative is the first one he's ever filed. We can't find evidence he's ever filed anything like this. The other guy whose name is on it, he says he's a 31-year-old independent, originally from Lakewood, who saw the idea on Reddit and was like, yeah, I'll participate in that. We talked with Democratic attorneys and strategists, the people who would likely work on this if it was a serious, organized effort involving Democratic power brokers in our state, and every one of them said they hadn't heard about it. Public media is under threat in Colorado, across America, due to a loss of federal funding. Hardest hit will be radio stations that serve rural communities. So let's help two of them in Colorado stay afloat. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports two rural radio stations that are vital to their corners of Colorado. KRZA in Alamosa serves the San Luis Valley. Sometimes it is the only source of daily local news for the Coloradans there, a connecting force in a spread out community that faces real economic challenges. KSUT in the Four Corners region is a unifying force in that multilingual community, from tribal lands to the area around Durango, with a focus on local news and public service and indigenous voices. Both of those stations expect to lose a significant portion of their revenue. Both of them have walked me through their plan to stay on the air no matter what, but how much of their local programming they're going to have to cut will depend on how much community support they can rally. I think that even Coloradans who do not live in those two rural communities are willing to support local media that keeps parts of our state connected and healthy. Given how many public media stations are losing funding right now, my goal was to find two of the hardest hit in our state that are also stations that have deep community roots. Thanks to the generous support of our partners, the Community Foundation serving Southwest Colorado, every dollar that we raise together is going to be split evenly, without overhead, between KRZA in the San Luis Valley and KSUT in the Four Corners. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. Your 5 years of microgiving has shown how $5 donations add up. You've raised more than $15 million in that time. I'll never ask you to give if I don't, so I'll match the first 50 donations as always to get us started. More than 5,000 of you have signed up to make a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info once, your donation is automatically split among all the nonprofits we feature. And that's meant our recent microgiving campaigns have started with about $35,000 in donations. Governor's been using a carrot and stick approach to get cities to add new affordable housing. Today, the Gov picked up the stick. We have been tracking the silent menace of parking lot rocks for years, and this could be the biggest assassin we've seen.
I hope they do something about this. There we go.
We have never seen a parking lot rock with more warnings, and yet it keeps grabbing drivers by the undercarriage. That's next. The governor's making clear what cities will lose if they don't comply with Colorado's new housing laws, like lifting occupancy limits and dropping parking space requirements. Democratic Governor Jared Polis's new order out today says starting in October, local governments that ignore those laws will lose out on millions of dollars in grant funding from 34 different areas, money for transportation, land use, infrastructure. Some cities on the Front Range are already suing over the new laws.
A hot, hazy August day in Denver with 97 degrees as our high. Triple-digit highs in areas like Fort Collins and Greeley. The record today, 99, so we just missed it, but I don't think anybody's too upset about that. Still very warm out there, 95 degrees downtown, still 94 at DIA. Red flag warnings for critical fire weather over western Colorado, where they're also dealing with dense wildfire smoke and unhealthy air. Air quality alerts remain in effect, and not much relief coming from clouds or from rain, at least not for the next 12 hours, as temperatures will trend very warm. Tomorrow, the record is 100. My forecast high is 98. Chance for rain from thunderstorms on Saturday. Temperatures come down a few degrees into the lower 90s for Sunday and for the first part of next week.
Do not turn too fast because you're going to get stuck on the boulder.
A rock in Aurora keeps jumping out in front of cars, Jeeps, trucks, an ambulance. Who will stop this menace? Next. Perhaps you've noticed America has some challenges these days. Rising authoritarianism straining the rule of law, a timid and crumbling media ecosystem unprepared to meet the moment, and rocks and parking lot medians that keep snagging cars. That last problem's probably the easiest for us to address. We've been all over this for years, since the infamous Target rock was taking out vehicles left and right outside the Target at Colorado Mills Mall. Our in-depth journalism got that rock retired to a safer location on the far side of the parking lot. Well, now a new menace looms. It's igneous, ignominious, and it is rocking drivers taking their safety for granted.
I know there is a tally on the rock.
This rock in a parking lot in Aurora has a wild body count.
I hope they do something about this. There we go.
It keeps bumping and grinding with passing cars and trucks.
Because they've tried reflectors, they've tried signs, they've tried traffic cones. It's just like, nope, people still go over it. People still drive over it.
Jeeps, pickups. Oh fuck, that's a fuck ambulance on the rock.
First of all, I'm blown away. How do you not see two great big 2-ton boulders?
But plenty of drivers apparently don't.
They assume it's grass, you know, and they just like it, and then they figure out there's two big boulders in it.
The Mississippi Rock in a strip mall at Mississippi and Potomac. It now has its own Google landmark page dedicated to its carnage.
When there are people coming to visit our business, we give them a map, and we have to specify exactly where the boulder is so that they don't get stuck.
It's a driving test, pop quiz style. Drivers at Mississippi and Potomac, heads up.
My father is blind on that side. Wears an eye patch. Can perfectly avoid them every time. I don't understand why it's so hard.
Got to keep your eyes up. Eyes up, Aurora. We're back with your feedback next. Tonight we have a special word of thanks microgiving campaign aimed at keeping 2 public radio stations on the air serving rural Colorado as they lose significant federal funding. Every dollar we raise together will be split evenly between KRZA in Alamosa and KSUT in Ignacio. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to join me in donating. KRZA has long been a voice of the Hispanic heritage and culture of the San Luis Valley while welcoming newcomers with the news. KSUT serves the tribal lands of southwest Colorado and all of the Four Corners region there around Durango. They could both really use our help. Feedback by text, somebody who says, I have never felt better about where my donation is going. Thank you for that trust. Jan and Don say thank you for the amazing visuals of the western wildfires. They say we live on the other side of the Grand Mesa. We're watching closely. We appreciate the clarity of the graphics. Thank you for saying that. We really have been working on that lately. And a text, your ambulance joke was awesome. Well, I agree, or I wouldn't have put it in at the risk of what could happen to me next. We'll see you next time.